slowly more and more people started coming into the room. Like in front of us, it was a lot of people. And so out of nowhere, the doors open and they're like, the president of the United States, and Biden walks in.
Hello, and welcome back to the Voice for You podcast, where we empower the leaders of today and tomorrow. I'm your host, Jeshwant Vana. Today, I'm joined by a young leader in our community. He is a community leader, advocate, and champion for civic participation. He is a student advisor for the school board of Miami-Dade County, which is America's third largest school district with over 350,000 students. That's 3 5s with 4 zeros. Born in the Netherlands to Cuban parents, he founded VP, or for long, Virtutum Populo, after moving to Miami, which VP is actually a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting civic engagement, crowning him a champion for civic participation. His work has definitely not gone unnoticed, as he was named an HSF Scholar as well as a 2025 Coca-Cola Scholar. Championing his way through civic participation and being a community leader, he is Mr. Maurits Acosta. How are you doing today, Maurits?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me on your podcast.
No, thank you for joining. You know, it really does personally mean a lot to me. You've probably done some crazy interviews with like local TV news stations. So, you know, this one random high schooler, you know, reaching out and is like, hey, you want to hop on my podcast? You know, it really does mean a lot to me. So thank you for joining the podcast.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about, right? I think it's important when students, you know, like myself and like you, that when they want to start things up, I think it's great to empower that. And I think, you know, the students have so much potential and sometimes that's a little overlooked. So I'm glad that you're putting together your own show on such a high quality platform and putting it out for other students to watch. It's super impressive.
Definitely. Thank you. You know, like you said, student leaders, we know we have a voice, and that is basically, you know, the point of this whole podcast, you know, a platform for students like yourself who have done crazy stuff to get and retrieve crazy stuff to, you know, voice and, you know, show the world what they have done, for sure. But how has your day been?
It's been good. It's been slow. You know, we're in summer, getting ready to head off to college in August, some minor trips that I'm preparing for. But other than that, just continuing to work on my organization and getting ready for college.
Definitely. Obviously, you are in Florida. I can see the palm trees behind you. So, you know, Florida summer do be hitting nice around this time too. It can get hot.
For sure. I mean, a little too nice, I think. Like I got into my car today and I could barely touch my steering wheel of how hot it gets. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
What's the highest that it usually gets over there?
Oh my God. The thing is that the humidity factor is so high that it could be 80 degrees, but it could feel like 100 just
Dang.
because of how humid everything is. And I mean, I was in the Florida Keys last weekend and it's no joke. Like the sunburn is crazy. So yeah, it gets bad.
Yeah, it's been a humid season too, for sure. I know I'm from Memphis and it's been raining every week, at least once. Like it usually rains in my sleep and the thunder usually scares me away because I'm a light sleeper. So I hear like that and then it's like I can't go back to sleep because I'm afraid the thunder's gonna hit again. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in Memphis, I guess you got a little bit of the best of both worlds. You have like some warm summers, some cold winters. Here it's just warm year round. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Miami. And now that I'm heading off to college in Massachusetts, I guess it's going to be a big shift. And I'm a little scared, I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm not ready for that cold. I need to start buying winter coats and all of that. So, yeah, I'm not used to it at all. I mean, I was born in the Netherlands and it gets cold there. But I moved here when I was 9. It's been almost 10 years. So I'm definitely a Miami boy now. Like, I've gotten used to the heat.
Definitely. You've lived in both worlds, you know, and you're going back to the cold. And I know Massachusetts is in the north. It can get cold at times, for sure, 100%. But, you know, before I get into the interview, you know, tell me a little bit about yourselves, your hobbies, your passions, and who you are as a person.
Yeah, so I guess that's a great question. I was born in the Netherlands to Cuban immigrants, lived there until 2015, came to Miami. Most of my family lives in Miami. Miami is the city in the United States with the most Cuban immigrants. So, definitely a huge Hispanic population here. So it feels right at home. I have all my cousins here. I have one of my grandparents. My dad's parents still live in Cuba. So, that's rough. But I guess my story is really taking advantage of the power that we as students have to make a difference in our community. And I'm particularly motivated on one side to help protect democracy and play my role in helping other students understand their role within our country's civic processes. But on the other side, as the son of a Cuban immigrant, a country where they don't have the same liberties or freedoms that we do, and knowing that I still have cousins there and my grandparents, and knowing that my cousin over there, for example, would never be able to go to a city council meeting like I do here and let my voice be heard, or be able to champion policies like I have, that really hits close to home to me. So I started Virtutum Populo, which means power to the people in Latin, and I started VP as a way to help other students get involved and take advantage of the power that they have as participants in our democracy. And I guess that's really my story. As hobby-wise, I started playing a little bit of golf in high school. I started my high school's golf team. I'm not good at all. I'll tell you that right now, so don't ask me anything about golf. But I try, and spending time with friends and family is definitely important to me. Which, by the way, bless you, because I saw you sneezed.
Thank you. But I've had for some reason a vigorous cough for the past couple.
I hope you feel better.
Yeah, I'm feeling fine. It's just my throat. It's low-key like kind of closing up. I don't know why, but
Yep, I feel you.
yeah. But your story, it definitely, you've seen both sides of the coin. As a Cuban yourself. I know this isn't probably the best movie to like turn back to when it comes to like Cubans in Miami, but like Scarface, that is, I watched that. It's low-key like a good movie. Obviously it's not a good like representation wise because like gangsters and stuff, but
Right.
Miami does have a good Cuban population, at least from what I heard in this, because I know it gave like a fact at the beginning about Cubans in Miami, or like the Florida area per se, but definitely. And you do say you're like bad at golf, but you did also play for your school team, so you never know, like you could be just good, just like bad compared to them, but like to your average Joe, that's what a lot of people say. Like they're bad, but in reality they're like low-key good too.
Possibly. I mean, a lot of people think that golf comes really easy, and then they go do it, and they can't hit the ball, and like it's definitely harder than it looks. I think I'm good enough. I can go out on the course and hit a couple of holes, but I don't know how good my scores will be.
Trust me, I've done top golf. Top golf is low-key hard. You have to be strong. You have to be strong to hit that ball far, especially on like a big green lawn. Yeah, you gotta be Happy Gilmore strong. That's
for sure.
Definitely.
For sure.
Definitely. But speaking of Happy Gilmore, before I get into like my interviews, I like to ask a more lighthearted question. To just get to know you as a person, you're the fun side of you, not in all that. So if you could have one movie to describe you as a person, what would it be and why?
That's such a good question. Oh my goodness. Wow. I'll tell you, I'm not a huge movie guy. I enjoy, watching some good TV, but oh my God, that's a difficult question.
Would you say
I used to read a lot more when I was younger. I started reading like Harry Potter in the 3rd grade, and that got me more into reading. Now I'm reading more like nonfiction, like memoirs and stuff. But I think I'm a pretty big TV person. I watch a lot of TV, or when I have time. But I guess back to your movie question.
We can make that TV shows too to make it easier for you. Movie/TV.
Yeah. For sure. I think I'd say, just the entire, I don't know, there's this show, I don't know if you've heard of it, which it's called The Diplomat. And it's super exaggerated. It's a super exaggerated show about international diplomacy. And I bet you 90% of the things that happen in the show don't actually happen. But I guess I describe myself in the way that I resonate with. That's kind of where I see myself in the future, maybe in some type of diplomacy or some type of public service. And I definitely resonate with that. I'm not sure what I want to do yet, but I always say that one thing's for certain, and that's that I want to live a life dedicated to public service. So wherever that takes me, I guess we'll see, but I'll say The Diplomat.
Definitely. Obviously all the work that you've done, pushes towards like I've said, civic engagement and being for diplomacy and all that too. So I definitely can see where that side comes. And obviously you are very big when it comes to civic participation and rights for everybody. So the diplomat, when they say diplomat, that's also like dealing with multiple countries, which I don't want to assume anything, but is that something you're interested in going into as a future career?
I think so for sure. I mean, I've definitely been, I guess, focused more over the last 4 years on a lot of domestic work, but I've done Model UN for years and I've always been interested in global affairs and international politics. Bless you. So, maybe I'll end up in that world. Who knows? Only time will tell.
Definitely. It is a good career, like getting to meet all these different cultures. Obviously, you are super cultured yourself, but getting to meet all these cultures, the backgrounds, and then also providing that civic engagement. Definitely. But first off, congratulations on graduating high school. It is
Thank
a
you.
big deal. It is a big deal. That is, I know a lot of people don't like to hear this, but it's technically the ending of the tutorial stage. Now you're moving on to it makes people feel old. That's what people have told me when I do mention that. But as a senior that has graduated, what school have you committed to, and what about that college first attracted you to apply there and then go on to commit?
Yeah, so I ended up committing to Harvard. I applied to 7 schools. 3 of those were in-state schools, and then 4 were out of state. And eventually, I visited Harvard, I visited Yale, I visited Georgetown, and there was just something about Harvard that I loved, and seeing how strong their politics program was with the Harvard School of Kennedy, the Institute of Politics, I thought was, right. I felt right at home, and that's why I ended up committing there. I just felt that I'd have stronger opportunities to pursue the type of work that I'm interested in at Harvard. And obviously, Harvard has a super supportive campus. The opportunities that students have available to themselves there really called my name, and that's why I ended up committing there.
Yeah, obviously Harvard has a very good law school and a very good business school, and then
That too.
it's Harvard. Like, come on now. The name itself will bring anybody to days. Is like, where are you going? I'm going to Harvard University. Say that again. Harvard University. It is a very big deal. And then obviously, like I mentioned, law and business. And then that's obviously something that you are interested in going into. So it's the perfect school to
Exactly. Yeah, it feels surreal for sure.
definitely. And then, obviously everyone has that personal connection to that college they decide, because you can't just go for the brand name. If you go for the brand name, then you're not getting the real experience. And you did feel that connection with Harvard. So that is very, that's very good, because now you'll be happy for the next 4 years, So,
Hopefully, yeah, I hope so.
yeah, definitely. But to get into Harvard, to be named a HSS scholar, to be named a Koch scholar, you must have some crazy extracurriculars, and you must have shown that passion of being a leader in your own community, such as serving as student advisor to the school board of Miami-Dade County, representing, like I mentioned earlier, over 350,000 students. That is 35 with 4 zeros. This is the third largest American school district in the
Right.
How did you get this position to begin with?
Yeah, so that's a great story. I just finished up my term maybe about a week or 2 ago. And so I first started getting involved with my school district when I was a freshman. At the end of my freshman year, I ran to be the legislative liaison to the District Student Government Association. So the District Student Government Association, it's like the student council or official student body association for the entire district. So I won my election. I ended up running the year after to be vice president. I won that election, and then my junior year, I ran to be the student advisor to the school board, which had been my dream probably since I was in 8th grade. So to finally achieve that, it was amazing, and what an honor to serve what I believe are the best students in the country and just the best district. And it was great. Obviously, when you're dealing with a district so big as Miami-Dade, the politics of it all can get to you. It's a very political district. A lot of politics goes into the school board and how the district operates. So managing that as an 18-year-old, 17-year-old can be tricky, but definitely so rewarding to be able to serve so many amazing students and get to visit so many different high schools all over South Florida and all over Miami-Dade. I mean, it was just an amazing, amazing experience. And I had my own seat on the school board. So I sat through meetings, was able to give and represent the student voice, and just an amazing experience overall.
Definitely. So how many elections you did mention that you did go through election process, that voting process. How many did you go through?
So I guess it was 3 for each of those. I mean, that was just for my role on the district student government. So many more elections for other positions and other boards throughout the county. But I actually won my election as student advisor unopposed, which was the first time that happened in a while. And I think it's because people knew, they had seen my experience on district student government for 2 years already. And I guess no one else wanted to run against me.
They were scared of the big dog.
I guess so. So, yeah, I mean, my freshman year, 8 people ran for that position. And then my senior year, I was the only one running. And I think there's no one wanted to run against me. So it definitely showed that I had worked hard to get to that point. And I guess no one had the experience to beat that. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Definitely. Obviously, you put in the work. You show the work that you put in. People are gonna come in. They're not gonna want to mess. Like I said, they don't want to mess with the big dog if they know they don't have a chance. Like if they think they have a chance of fighting, they'll take that chance. But you obviously did show your work throughout before you did get elected to student advisor, and that did not scare away, but they have the respect for you and they know that you're going to get the job done, which obviously you did, because you did finish your term.
Exactly.
Very, very well. Once again, congratulations on finishing your term. That is, being that face for 350,000 students is a big number, dude. That's like a lot of people for sure. Definitely.
Yep. It's crazy.
Yeah, 100%. But like I've mentioned many times, as in the past 5 minutes, you do represent a big amount of people. And as a voice for the students, what are some things that you proposed while in your position? And what are some activities which you partook in?
Yeah, so my priority was always to make sure that students were included in all processes that took place at the school district. So first things first, when I got elected, the first thing I did was I held a meeting with the Department of Nutrition of our school district, because I wanted to make sure that student voices were being included in the school lunch process. So, I met with them. They have told me that they do surveys of students when it comes to the lunch items and breakfast items that are offered. But I really told them that I felt strongly about the fact that students needed to be included more. And so they do this annual conference where they bring students together to taste test different menu items and then decide, what makes it on the menu or not. And I really push for that to be shown to the students, that their peers are rating the food, that they are being involved in that process. I also made a big push for students to be included in various committees. First thing I heard was they were trying to adopt the calendar for next school year and the school year after that, because they wanted to do 2 years at a time. And they were saying, the deputy superintendent was going on how amazing this process has been, and that it had representatives from the teachers union, from district staff, from principals. And I said, where's the students on this committee? So I told them, look, guys, I mean, this is great that you have all these people, but don't you think it would make sense to also have a representative from the student body on this committee to also give input on how the calendar is being made? And so, I made that known. I also played a big role in organizing the annual student leadership conference, when we bring in the student government presidents, vice presidents, SGA officers of all the high schools in Miami for a day of leadership building and skill building. And so I had a role in pushing for that as well. And for the first time ever, I pushed that the student advisor needs to visit high schools. Originally, that wasn't really heard of. No student advisor visited high schools. And so I went in there and I said, look, guys, if you want me to sit on the school board days every month and speak on behalf of the student body, how can I do that if I'm not going into the schools and meeting with the students? So I started a listening campaign, and I call it the Idea Exchange campaign. And I visited a bunch of high schools all across Miami-Dade County, some even an hour away because Miami-Dade is so big that to get
Yes,
all the way to the furthest end, it could take you easily an hour and 20 minutes one way. But I wanted to do it because when you have a district like that, every single school is different. Every school has its own needs. And I wanted to make sure I was communicating those needs properly. And so we did just that.
exactly. Exactly. Did anyone ever like request you to come to their school personally, or was it just you requesting them to come to their school?
Yeah, I had students reach out to me a bunch too, a lot with questions, calls, emails, problems that were going on at their schools. And I always made sure I was referring them to the appropriate contacts at the district that could help them and kind of get them answers, even if I wasn't able to. But yeah, I had students ask me to come visit, and then a lot of them, I proactively as well reached out to their principals to set up a visit.
Definitely, definitely. Do you have any stories, like any crazy stories or any inspirational stories that you have from, visiting these schools? That one sticks to your head.
Well, like I visited this one school where the students would tell me that the Wi-Fi was so bad in their classrooms that their teacher would send them with their laptops outside to see if they could if something would come on there. Like when they were Googling something, like the teacher would be like, oh, step out of the classroom and go to the courtyard or something and see if the Wi-Fi works better. And that to me was just like, what are we doing here? So immediately after that, I put in requests to the district. Like I want to meet with the IT department and see how we can make Wi-Fi better. And I think that's one of those great stories of, just letting students voice their concerns. Something else I championed before I was elected student advisor, when I was still vice president of the Student Government Association, we had a student tell our superintendent that they felt that the mental health classes that were offered were not great. Like in Florida, every single district and high school is supposed to make their students take, I think it's a certain number of hours of mental health classes a year. And our district had chosen to do that through this outdated platform they had purchased. And the students were saying my teacher just tells me to play the videos and be on my phone and just click to make the requirement done. And so I really spoke to our superintendent and told them, look, we need to change platforms. And they eventually did buy a new platform that was more interactive and made students pay better attention to the material being offered.
Definitely, if there's no student interaction for something that is for the students, then what is the point? Let's be honest.
Exactly.
At the end of the day. And, you are the voice for the students. So, not all 350,000 of them can come to the school board and, say, oh, I find this, we're not doing anything here. We want change. They will listen to you because you are that one student that, was chosen to lead everybody else, for sure. And then also circling back to what you said earlier, you did champion the idea of, creating committees to have students have more voice. So how successful do you believe those committees have been so far?
Yeah, I mean, for that one specifically, the calendar one, it was, ended up approving the calendar for 2 more years. So that committee's not going to meet until probably next year. But at least, I think they're going to take that into account when creating the committee in the future, that they do need to include student voice in the process. And we've increased, our superintendent would originally meet with the district student government association once a year. And we've been able to increase that to 3 times a year, maybe even 4 times, because I think he's listened to us and our superintendent's amazing, but he wants to have students be more involved in the process. And I think seeing me on the school board and seeing the voices that I brought really showed him that, wow, students are making good points. And so he wants to hear from us more directly. And I definitely think we've been successful in doing that.
Definitely, being a champion for the students and, because the superintendent is the one that runs everything through the whole district.
Yep.
They're the ones that make difference. And obviously with such a big county as yours, every school is going to be different. Like my county, there is my school district, there's only 1 high school, 2 middle schools, and like 9, maybe not even 9, 6 or 7 elementary schools. So it's not that big. And it's all, and unlike yourself, which you have to travel 1 hour and 20 minutes to reach the farthest school. For me, the farthest school is my high school, which is 15 minutes. So each superintendent is different. And obviously with something as big as yours, you know, each with that big of a gap between, there's going to be different lifestyles, different ways of, you know, different ways that people communicate, different ways, the cultures will be a little bit more different from one another. So being that champion voice and, you know, adding between all that, definitely. But, you know, moving on from that, you know, we have to address the elephant in the room. Obviously the shirt with I am a Latin student and I cannot pronounce this. This is embarrassing as hell. Virtutum Populo. Is that right? Yes.
Oh, yep, you got it.
Yeah. I'm taking Latin 3 next year too. I'm low-key screwed to the max, dude. Cause I haven't taken Latin. Were you a Latin student of any way? How did you get the name idea?
I wasn't. I'm not sure how I got the name. I think I just wanted something unique. And so, you know, doing a lot of Latin research, and I was like, you know what, I think that really fits with the mission. But I'm not going to lie, like 3 months after I started the organization 3 years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, I think I messed up. Like, the name is too hard. But then we just like grew so much and started raising so much money and helping so many students that it was too late to change. So we stuck it through. And now, you know, it is what it is. But I definitely had some second thoughts about maybe I should name it something else. But it worked out, and you know, we're known now in the community as one of the top student-led, if not the top student-led organization in Miami. And so, you know, we're proud of that, and it worked out.
Definitely. I mean, it's not hard to pronounce. I don't know why I'm fumbling on this. Like I said, I am a Latin student myself, and I've seen the word Virtutum multiple times. But, you know, circling back to the elephant in the room, you are the founder of Virtutum Populo, which is a nonprofit dedicating to promoting civic engagement and community involvement to students in Florida. And like you said, probably the largest student-led organization in the Miami area. So what was the main goal when you created this nonprofit, or like how did this idea come to life?
So I was a freshman in high school. In my middle school, I had the opportunity to collaborate with my mayor and city council to write and pass 2 laws for the town that my middle school was in. And so these were 2 laws fully written by myself and a small group of classmates, fully presented on by us before the mayor and the council. And so after we were able to pass those laws, I was just like, wow, like I was 12 and 13 and we just wrote and passed the law. Imagine the power that students hold all over Miami, all across Florida, and all over the United States. So I decided to start the organization to help other students connect with their local government, but also just with the general idea of participatory democracy, and just letting them know that their voice has power and facilitating that process for them to use their voice. And also just because we're seeing civic literacy levels, even among adults, that are a little embarrassing. So I think we need to set our students up for success. And if we want our students to play an active role in our country's processes, then they need to have a foundation of civic knowledge that is adequate. So our work is really twofold. Not only do we help students understand our nation's constitution, how local government works, how they can use their voice, we also actively facilitate civic engagement opportunities for them to get involved. And that's what we've been doing for now 3 years. 3 years in, we've raised over $95,000, reached almost 4,000 students through all of our programs. And that's something that I am extremely proud of, most importantly, because we are 100% student-led. A lot of organizations, they may have some students involved, but really the people behind it are adults with degrees and all this. We don't have none of that. We are 100% run by students. Every single penny we have raised has been raised by myself or someone on my team through the work that we're doing. Every single program that we've held has been organized fully by myself and my team of around 20 different middle and high school students. And that's what I think makes our work extremely special.
Definitely. That's the type of stuff that we want to highlight. You know, this podcast too, it is for the students. I have tried creating my own team. You know, the podcast is ran by students, for students by students, which is the same goal that you have too. So, you know, striving for the same thing, but in different different ways, so 100%. How did you create your team per se? Because obviously you did probably start this like on your own. How did you like market out to people and ask them to join your team?
Yeah, so at first it really started just with friends of mine or people who I'd met through school or through different competitions we participated in. And that's really how the team started. But then the team expanded to people reaching out to me on LinkedIn or on Instagram that they wanted to get more involved. And I have a philosophy, a personal mission that whenever a student reaches out to me that they want to get involved with Virtutum Populo, we don't turn down anyone. Because if we do, then I think we're doing a disservice to our mission, which is to get students involved. So now we have students wanting to get involved and we tell them, oh, sorry, our team is full. So we don't do that. Everyone that reaches out, we try to find a way to get them involved. Obviously, I can't give everyone a position on our team because if not, I'll have 100 people on my team and we don't get anything done. But we at least find ways for them to volunteer with us, for them to get engaged with us. And so right now we're going this transition phase where I'm obviously not going to be in Miami for most of the year. And so I needed a strong group of people who are able to continue putting together our events that we run year round. And so we opened up applications for the next generation of the Student Leadership Committee. And we received 42 applications from students all across Miami who wanted to do it. And we even received a few applications from students outside of Miami. And those are a little harder to get involved because a lot of our work is in Miami right now, but we're growing to doing an advocacy movement all across the state of Florida. And now we're launching a partnership with another student organization to do some national work. And so, the team just grows authentically and it's been good. So I'm actually handing over the title of executive director to an 8th grade student here in Miami. He's going into his freshman year next year. He is honestly the brightest 8th grade student I've ever met. And I'm fully confident that he's going to be able to lead the team and continue putting together these amazing events. And I'm going to transition to being the chair of the board of directors. I can't let go. It's kind of like my baby. I'm always going to be involved, but it's unrealistic for me to still lead everything day to day when I'm going to be hundreds of miles away. And our events, a lot of them are in person. Like we put together big events with hundreds of kids coming. And sometimes, I don't know, I don't think I'm going to be able to make all of them, right? I'm not going to be here. So we really needed a good team of students who are going to be able to put together these large scale events and communicate with our partners in Miami to make that happen. And I'm happy that we're transitioning the team to a group that's really capable of doing that.
Definitely. Well, on the national side, if you ever need any media partners, Voice for You is always here for you in your work. 100%. Just reach out. We would love the student-led being that media partner for the student-led organizations. That'd truly be a dream. So if you ever do need anything like that, I definitely would.
Absolutely, brother. We're gonna take you up on that offer and we'll find a way to collaborate on something for sure.
Definitely. But my next question was actually going to be if y'all have scaled nationally. But what, obviously, are you able to talk about the national, obviously with the other organization? Are you able to talk about that in the former? Okay.
For sure. So I'll tell you first what we do. So we run around 10 different programs year-wide here in Miami. We have a civics game show we host between high schools in Miami-Dade County called the Civic Knowledge Bowl, where it's literally how you watch Jeopardy on TV. It looks just like that. We partner with our local college. We hire a company to professionally live stream it. We fill the auditorium with a bunch of middle and high school students from across Miami, and we have high schools compete on the stage with buzzers, like answering civics questions. So we do that. Then we have something called Youth Governance Day, where we connect with cities in Miami-Dade County. So Miami-Dade County has 34 cities in it, one of them being the city of Miami. So that's kind of the structure, right? So we partner with all these cities and we place high school students to be mayors for the day of those cities on Youth Governance Day. So we just hosted that last week. We had 20 of the 34 participate. So we had 20 mayors for the day that were high schoolers on June 6th of this year. And that's one of our programs. We also have a youth empowerment program where we give money to students in Miami to launch their own projects. We also had a podcast called the Civic Action Podcast. We have a gala we host every year. We just hosted our 3rd annual gala. We raised $21 a night at the gala. Hosted almost 300 people. It was
Wow.
amazing. We host also a Constitution Day event every single year. This will be our 4th Constitution Day event this September, where we bring together middle schoolers to learn about the Constitution. So we run a lot of programs like that year-wide. We just recently started paying more attention to our advocacy wing. We launched something called the Florida Student School Board Member Initiative, where we're working to get all of Florida's 67 to have a student advisor to the school board, just like the position I held. There's 67 school boards in Florida, only 5 have a student advisor position. Miami-Dade County has had a student advisor position since the 1980s. I was the 40th student advisor. So how is it possible that we've had a student representative in Miami for 40 years, but we have a lot of counties in the rest of the state that don't even have any student voice at their school board meetings? So we're trying to change that. We've partnered with Aetna Better Health of Florida, which is an insurance company owned by CVS, and they're funding this. So we're traveling all over the state next year to meet with school board members and convince them that they need to add a position for a student on their board. So that's really how we're taking in our state side. Now, the national project we just started working on last week with another student organization called Pivot, is we're trying to host a virtual civic leadership academy at the end of August for students all across the country, and maybe even some international students, to learn how to use their voices and how to get involved in government. And so that's really going to start our national approach. And I'm definitely hoping now at Harvard that I can bring some of that with me to Massachusetts and the surrounding areas and see if we can continue to expand and can continue to grow outside of Miami and outside of Florida.
Obviously, yes, because you've done a lot of work in Florida for sure. You know, if y'all could expand, because I don't know for sure if my school, like my district, actually has a student advisor. I don't think that's a thing in our area.
Look into it. And what we're actually recommending, because some districts in Florida are small like yours, where they only have one high school. And what we're recommending in those districts is either have a second election at the high school for, like, when you elect your student council president, also elect a student representative to the school board. Or some districts may just want to make the student government president at the high school automatically be the student representative on the school board. So there's definitely ways to do it. And since Florida has so many different counties, from Miami to Orange County, where Orlando is, to a lot of smaller counties like Gadsden County, which only has one high school, we're tailoring our approach to all the districts and letting them know we have a plan for you regardless of your district size, and we're willing to work with you on doing just that. And maybe that's something we can take to a national level. I even love the Youth Governance Day. Bless you. I would love to see Youth Governance Day get to a point as well where maybe we can expand across Florida and the nation, like having a day where high school kids take over as mayors in their cities. I just think is so incredibly powerful and a great way to continue promoting student involvement across the United States.
Definitely. You know, that is, you're running a school. Like, if you don't have schools are made for students. If you don't have a student representative, then what is the point? It's just adults making decisions for the students, which
Exactly.
low-key my school might need. You know, I can't get into like all those details because it is still my school at the end of the day, but you know, for sure, having that student representative for anybody and anything is always needed to show that voice and stuff. But you know, you have been very involved with VP. Obviously, you do have the shirt. Does everyone on your team get a shirt like a cool shirt like that?
Yeah, everybody does that.
That's, you know, that low-key some nice merch there. But you know, obviously with all this you know, involvement that you have had with VP, what is the most inspirational, the most craziest, and just the most, you know, heartfelt story that you have seen as your time a part of VP?
I mean, just the dozens and dozens of messages I get every single week from students in Miami and across the country saying, like, how do I do this? This is amazing. I want to start my own nonprofit, or I want to get more involved. That definitely means a lot to me. But also just the support that elected officials in Miami have given me has meant a lot. Like, we had the mayor of the whole county, that's 3 million residents, declare June 6th as Youth Governance Day. And that was so special to have that being recognized for over 3 million people in the entire county of Miami. I mean, that's been amazing. But definitely just like the stories of students who are seeing our work and feel inspired by that to use their own voice. And, you know, there's some students that we've seen through their middle school years, like that first started going to our event when they were in 6th grade, a middle schooler going to Constitution Day, and now they're going to high school, and they keep on coming to our events and they keep on wanting to get more involved. That definitely means a lot to me. But I also think what's really heartfelt is the teachers that call me. That they call me and they say, Maurits, when is your next event? I love taking my government class or my civics class to your events because it really connects them to the topics we're teaching at school, but in real life. Like, when is your next civics game show? I want my class to participate and compete, or I want my school to go watch, or how can we go to the gala? Because at our gala, we give out awards to students and schools in Miami that are going above and beyond when it comes to doing civic engagement work. So I guess really just the teachers and principals that reach out, that are impressed, that want their school to keep on attending. That definitely means a lot because I think it shows that our programs work, that we're using our donors' money correctly, we're using our sponsorship dollars correctly, and we're really making change in Miami-Dade County and inspiring teachers and motivating students. And that definitely means a lot.
Definitely. But, you know, as a for students by students situation, you obviously have to win over the adult too. And, you know, usually with that, you always have an adult on your team to make sure to have like that. But in your situation, you do not. So how are you able to win over the adults in your area to take a chance on you and your team?
Yeah, that's a great question. I always say, I gave a speech maybe around 3 years ago to a group of PhD candidates in ethical leadership at a local university in Miami called St. Thomas University. It was like a TED-style presentation. And the president of the university asked me to come in and speak to all of these adults who were getting their PhD in ethical leadership. It was like a group of 30 of them. And what I told them was that students like me thrive because adults like them open their doors to us and give us the space to lead. And I've been so blessed that I've had so many amazing teachers, educational leaders, elected officials, community leaders that have taken a chance on me and have given me that opportunity to lead and to be independent and to make a difference. And if we don't have adults that support that work, you're totally right. It's just not going to happen because adults run the world, right? So if we want students to make a difference, we definitely need their support. And I mean, initially, when I first started the organization, by Florida law, I was too young to start a nonprofit by myself because we needed 3 people on the board of directors. They couldn't be related to me under law, and only one of them could be under 18, which was me at the time. So I needed 2 adults who were not related to me. So I asked 2 teachers to be on the board, and they were on the board of directors so we could legally start the organization, but all of the work was still done by us, and just having their support, but also just all the mayors, city council members, state senators, state representatives that have supported our work definitely means a lot. And I'll tell you a funny story of the first big sponsorship I got. It was 3 years ago, or like 2.5. I was putting together my first civics bowl, and I realized that if I wanted it to be big, I was going to need money. So I sent probably 80 emails to companies, organizations all over Miami asking them to sponsor it. Most of them never answered. I maybe only heard back from like 3 of them. And there was one in particular. It's the local credit union in Miami for the schools. It's called the Educational Federal Credit Union. And their vice president of community relations emails back and goes, for sure, let's set up a Zoom meeting. And something important for this story is that I stopped putting in my emails that I was a student or my age because I felt like no one was answering me. So at one point, I just started sending emails. Hi, my name is Maurits. I'm the executive director of this nonprofit. We're putting together this event. Would love to talk about your company sponsoring. And nowhere did I put that it was students who were running this, that I was probably 16, 15 at the time. So this vice president goes, okay, let's set up the meeting. So I get on the Zoom. It's him and it's his boss, the senior vice president of the bank. So we're sitting there. Everyone's cameras are off. So I'm like, oh, hello, we're about to start the meeting. So everyone turns on their cameras. I turn on my camera. So it's us 3. and they see a 16-year-old and they were shocked. They couldn't believe it. But you know what? They took a chance on us and they gave us our first big sponsorship, $5,000. Ever since then, every single year, they have been the title sponsors of our Civics Bowl and of our gala because they believe in us and they know that we put together high quality programs. And because of them, they took a chance on us. We've been able to work with so many other brands. We had Coca-Cola Florida sponsor one of our events once. We've had Florida Power and Light, which is like the electricity company for basically all of Florida, sponsor our event. So, you know, it's refreshing to see organizations take a chance on me and take a risk on Virtutum Populo being student-led. And because of that first bank that did it, we definitely grew tremendously in success. And I also have to give credit. We just got a huge donation from the Allstate Foundation, like the insurance company Allstate, their foundation, who is making a commitment to student voice these next few years. And they're doing some amazing work, and I've been able to get involved with them. And I want to give them a shout out because the Allstate Foundation, I think, is leading the way at a national level for what youth-led service and student empowerment should look like. Because they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're not only saying we care about students, they're actively funding movements all across the country, including my organization in Miami, for us to be able to do that work. So there's definitely great adults out there who believe in our mission. It hasn't been easy. I always tell students getting money is the hardest when you're young because nobody wants to give a 16-year-old a check for $2,000, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000.
Exactly.
And so, you know, it's hard, but it's definitely possible. And there's some amazing people out there who have supported me.
Definitely. Obviously, the Coca-Cola sponsorship was a little bit foreshadowing for what was to come afterwards, you know. But, you know, getting Allstate's massive, you know. It is a massive. It's like the one with the blue logo, you're in good hands. That's getting that on board. And it all started from one singular mistake that they thought you were an adult. Your Title I sponsor, your credit union bank. You know, that's a main topic of a lot of these, you know. You can reach out to as many people as you can. No one can respond, but that one person that responds can change everything for you. It's
exactly
usually that one person. And obviously for you, that happened. And then, you know, it led to other crazy stuff. And now we are here talking with a massive insurance company like Allstate, who is working to helping voice student voices, which is, you know, really well good, especially for the future of generations of students that come after us. So
precisely.
Definitely. But, you know, along with VP and your work with Miami-Dade County, in 2024, you were named a delegate for the United States Senate Youth Program. That is one of the most selective youth programs, especially when it comes to civics and law. So what was that experience like, and did it change your outlook on your career in any way whatsoever?
Okay. I have done probably, if I counted, maybe around a dozen different programs like that. From conventions I've attended to I did a program with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute with Georgetown University. I did a program with the Florida FBI Academy. I've done a lot of programs. I've done them all. No program has been as transformative as the United States Senate Youth Program. And it was just the most incredible experience. And obviously the Coca-Cola Scholars Leadership Summit was also incredible. And I also attended an Allstate Foundation Youth Summit, which was incredible. But the U.S. Senate Youth Program, it's just, I can't even put into words the experience, because every single day you wake up and you don't feel like it's real. Because being there, sitting in the rooms with some of the top officials that you're used to seeing on TV in the country's government, it's just amazing. And I'll tell you, I mean, the highlight of my week, I did it in 2024, was the day of the State of the Union. We had a dinner scheduled with the ambassador. I think it was the U.S. ambassador to Mexico or the Mexican ambassador to the United States, something like that. And they tell us that morning during breakfast, they go, okay, guys, we have bad news. unfortunately, we have to cancel the dinner with the Mexican ambassador. We were all like, oh my gosh, why? And then they go, in some better news, you have all been invited as guests of the president and the first lady to watch the State of the Union inside the White House tonight.
What the heck?
And everyone went insane. So we get to the White House probably at like, I mean, the State of the Union is at like, what, 8 or 9, something like that. We probably get to the White House at like 7-ish or 8. It's already dark. So we go through security. I had been to the White House before that twice, both times on public tours, just like tours that people schedule. That's like, it's cool, but it's like you're with a bunch of people. Like anyone can schedule that. It takes a few months to do because you have to go through your congressman, but it's free and you can schedule a White House tour. Both of those times, I think I did it with an organization I went with that they had scheduled it for us. And it's really neat. You walk around the rooms, but all the rooms have like they're roped off. You can't go into them. You can just look into them. There's Secret Service everywhere. You're probably there with like 100 other people, tourists taking pictures. But that night, the White House is closed. It was a private event. So we just walk in. They don't have any ropes up anywhere. You could just walk around. It was honestly the craziest experience walking to the White House at like 8 p.m. And they take us into the East Room, which is like the most important room in the White House. That's where they host state dinners. That's where presidents have lain in state after they passed away. This is where like presidents have addressed the country from this room, like announcing like important announcements. So we're in the East Room. They have a bunch of tables set up for us with these big 2 screens. And it was just amazing. They had, obviously Secret Service was there, but they had like these butlers that were giving out soda, presidential M&Ms. It was like a little box of M&Ms with the president's logo and Joe Biden's signature on it. I kept one. I took it home. I haven't opened it. It's on my desk. There's a presidential M&M box that I'm never going to open. And so being there just felt surreal. And like, I remember I had to use the restroom. And like, when you're there on the public tour, they tell you, you can't even use the restroom. So I have to use the restroom, go before coming here. Like, we're not going to let you go. Like, everything is sealed off. You just walk through it. Secret Service is in every room. Everything's closed off. Even the East Room, when I had been there during the tour, you just go to like the outside of it. You can't go in. We were like walking all over the East Room. Like, we could just walk around. I remember going to the bathroom and I asked the Secret Service agent and they were just like, oh, it's down the hall to your left. And like, I just walked, I went into the library. It was like this library in the White House and the bathroom was in there. And there was no guard, no nothing. Like, we were just walking around the White House. So then they hadn't told us if we were going to meet the president yet or not. So we were kind of all hoping we could. Obviously, the president during this time is in the Capitol doing the State of the Union. We're watching him do it from the White House. So we're all watching him on TV. The State of the Union ends, everyone was clapping. And so we were like, are we leaving? Because if we're leaving now, we're obviously not going to get to meet him because he's probably still talking to people there. By the time he makes his way back, we'll probably be gone. But I had noticed from the beginning that in the East Room, they have these steps lined up, like these big steps as if we were going to take a big group picture, that people line up on the steps. And like, so I was like, are we going to take a big picture with someone? So then they tell us, okay, guys, get on the steps. It's probably like 10:30 p.m. by now. So we all get on the steps. We're standing like this. They tell us, don't move, don't move. And then the doors open and it was the first lady, which was super cool. So the first lady comes in and so she was super nice. She was just there for like 5 minutes with us. And so we just took the picture and then they told us, whatever you do, don't move. We're staying on this. And so we waited. We probably stood there for like another 40. And I'll mention too, like before the State of the Union even started, the White House press secretary at the time, Karine Jean-Pierre, came into the room and spoke to us, and it was super neat. So we're standing on there. We're like, is the president coming? Slowly, more and more people started coming into the room. Like in front of us, it was a lot of people. And so out of nowhere, the doors open and they're like, the president of the United States. And Biden walks in. And it was just surreal. It was just surreal. And the most surreal part is that he didn't just walk in and get in the middle of us to take the picture. He just started talking to us. And he told us amazing stories about his life. And by now, it's probably over 11 p.m. It's well over 11 p.m.
Wow.
And so we're just talking to him. And he probably spoke to us for a good 30 minutes. And his granddaughter was there. And his granddaughter tells him, Grandpa, it's really late. Let's take the picture so we can leave. And then he's like, let me tell you guys a story about my granddaughter. And he starts telling us about his granddaughter and like he wouldn't leave. And then finally someone nudged him and was like, Mr. President, the photo. And he's like, you're right, you're right. So he comes in, takes a picture with us, and he walks out. And we had just spent, really, it must have been like 30 minutes talking to the leader of the free world. And that, to me, was just the most incredible experience of the week. But I could go on and on. I mean, just the experiences. I got to meet my senator, just like, it was just amazing. And then afterwards, I'm telling you, we left the White House. I think we left the White House after 1 a.m. because the president, if I remember my timeline correctly, he actually didn't even get to speak to us till like 12. And we probably left the White House after 1 a.m., like at 1-ish. We left the White House. So being in the White House until 1 a.m. was just super cool and just amazing. And on the way out, we all saw, I don't know if you know the show Dance Moms. There's this lady named Dr. Holly who's like really popular on the show. Well, she was also at the White House that night for another event, and we saw her walking out. They had apparently hosted a bunch of celebrities for another private watch party of the State of the Union in another room. So, I mean, just amazing experience getting to see the president, meet with him, take a big group picture, which I have on my desk. Getting to take a picture with my senator, Rick Scott, also really cool. I have that picture on my desk. So, I mean, just what an experience, honestly.
Wow. Holy, bro, you was a storyteller, bro. Holy, that encaptivated me that whole time. Oh my God. On a scale of 1 to 10, when Joe Biden walked in, how crazy was the freaking out?
Like, probably like a 12. Like, even just us already being in the White House was like already insane. And look, these programs, they have people from different beliefs. You know, some people are Republicans, some people are Democrats, some people are somewhere in the middle. But at that moment, everyone was an American because you have the president of the United States in front of you. Everybody was going crazy because how cool is that, right? Like, it didn't matter what side you were on. People were just excited, and I was over the moon. And just that entire week was like a fever dream. And we had a lunch. This is also one of my top moments. We had a dinner next to the U.S. Constitution, like the real Constitution. Like in the National Galleries where people go and see it, they shut that down for an event for us at like 8 p.m. And they set up the tables, like gala-style tables, right next to the Constitution. Like, I'm eating dinner and I look up and the Constitution is standing in front of me. And I'm like, how am I having a dinner next to the Constitution? Like, how crazy is that?
Like, that's the actual Constitution wrote in like the late 1700s, early 18. Wow.
Insane. And I mean, yeah, you're right. The selection process was crazy. Like, I remember in Florida, every state gets to send 2 people. And the selection process in Florida was insane. Like, a bunch of people apply, then they pick 10 finalists. And they tell you in an email, you've been a finalist. Your interview is at 8 a.m. at the Department of Education in Tallahassee, which is the state capital, 2 weeks from now. I live in Miami. Tallahassee is a 9-hour drive. And they tell you 2 weeks beforehand, be here, your interview's at 9 a.m. If you can't make it, too bad. And I remember going, what am I going to do? Am I going to drive 10 hours? I ended up taking a flight. I went by myself because my parents couldn't take off work like in a week and a half notice. So I flew up by myself and I stayed with a friend of mine who was going to university there. And I did the interview. They give you a super hard exam, like a written exam with like super difficult questions. They make you write essays in front of them, and then you do the interview. And then they email you like 2 weeks later, oh, you know, you're one of the 2 people we're sending to Washington. And that's just like amazing. I mean, it just feels great. It's the same way like when I was named the Coca-Cola Scholar. I mean, amazing. And the Coca-Cola Scholar weekend, and I know you've interviewed some other Coca-Cola Scholars, what makes that weekend so special, like what made the Senate weekend so special was not only the people, but also just the experiences. But for Coca-Cola, I would say it's really the people. Like, just the people I met at Coca-Cola were amazing. Just some of the top students in the country, actually some who had also gone to the U.S. Senate Youth Program the year after me in 2025. So it's just the top students of the country at these programs, and being able to be in the same room as them and talk to them, and many who we're still talking with. And actually just this March, a bunch of us had a reunion in Washington from the U.S. Senate Youth Program. And we went up for an alumni dinner in Washington, and we all stayed together, and it was a blast. So it just shows you that you definitely make friendships that last a lifetime.
Definitely. For something like that, definitely you make friendships. Even if it's like 2 or 3 days, like you can make bonds very, very very fast. That's the good thing about humans, if you're open enough, they'll be friendly. They'll be friendly for
Exactly.
your friend, especially like no one's gonna start off first like being a jerk. They're gonna all come off nice, that 2 or 3 days, and then you become super tight. Like I had state training for FBLA, and I was in a room. There was one other kid, one of my close friends. He was also there with me. But other than that, except for my officer team, who I barely knew because I only got to spend a couple of days with them while it was running, I didn't know anybody in that room. But leaving that, I made a bunch of new friends, a bunch of close friends that I still contact to this day, like 2 weeks later. So that's just the beauty of, meeting new people and making new friends. And obviously with something like the stories that you just told us about the United States Senate Youth Program, there is no shot you're not coming out of there with an experience of a lifetime, for sure.
For sure. Oh, for sure.
But behind all of this, you did mention towards the very beginning that you were born in the Netherlands to Cuban parents, and you do live in America. So you have Cuban heritage, Netherlands heritage, living there from the age of 9, and American, living in Miami for the past 10 years. So how do you believe your mix of cultures has played into who you are as a person?
I think it's shaped me tremendously. And actually, if you go to my Instagram bio, those are the 3 flags I have in my bio, right? The American flag, the Cuban flag, and the Dutch flag from the Netherlands. So I think it's shaped me a lot. I think coming from the Netherlands, I had a really solid base in education. I was able to learn English in just 3 months since after moving here. And so, I obviously didn't want to move from the Netherlands. I was 9, I had a bunch of friends. It was really tough. But coming here, learning English quickly, I think my Dutch heritage definitely gave me some key values of community, of working together. I think the Dutch people are great at teamwork. And so I think I had that base. My Cuban heritage definitely makes me value freedom a lot. And I speak Spanish on a daily. Like you could come to Miami without speaking English and only speaking Spanish, and you would never have to learn English your life. Like everybody here speaks Spanish. At my school, my teachers will like teach in English and then casually switch to Spanish and back to English. And like, it's not a big deal because almost everyone speaks Spanish. So I definitely value my Spanish a lot, but I think my Cuban heritage made me really respect how important democracy is and freedom. And then my American side, like I definitely feel American. And I think that's the beauty of this country. Like Ronald Reagan once said that you can move to Germany, Turkey, or Japan and never feel like you're a German, a Turk, or Japanese, but you can move to America and feel like you're American. And, I love this country, and I think I've been able to really do a lot of work here that I wouldn't have been able to do anywhere else, like starting an organization, just playing this role in helping protect democracy. And I think the United States is the best country for students to get involved based on my knowledge. Like you can go to other countries, even countries with amazing democracies like the Netherlands or any country in Europe, but they still don't involve, there's still not those opportunities for students to get involved like they exist here through programs like the U.S. Senate Youth Program, through scholarship programs like Coca-Cola. So yeah, I think it's just like the perfect combination, I would say, of these 3 countries that have made me who I am today, and kind of shaped my work throughout these past 7 years in middle and high school, and will continue to shape my work in the next 4 years in college, maybe the next 3 year after that in law school, and then for the rest of my life.
Definitely. No. As someone I'm Indian, so obviously I live in America and I have my Indian heritage. So that heritage, you have three different heritages that you come from. So, each, like you've mentioned, each one brings a certain vibe to it, which is just the beauty of, coming from different heritages, because each one is different from the other. So
Right.
definitely, I can see where you're coming from there. But, you've already did touch up on this earlier, but with all these accomplishments, you earned the Coca-Cola scholarship. So how was that process, applying to it, and how was that experience, traveling down to Georgia and being added to a crazy network of 149 other passion-driven students throughout the U.S.?
Yeah, obviously it's insane, right? It's insane because there were 105,000 applications, something like that. And only 150 people get them. That's 0.14%, something like that, right? So I mean, being selected is just amazing. And it was the application process. Obviously, there's several rounds, a lot of essays you need to write, all of that. But then once you're actually selected, it just feels insane. Like, wow, how am I one of 150 from 105,000? And so, yeah, it was amazing getting to go to Atlanta. It was my first time in Georgia, and meeting all these people was also amazing. And a lot of people that I got to meet that I'm going to Harvard with, which I'm really
Yes.
excited about, because it gave me that, like, I know you interviewed Morgan. I became great friends with Morgan during my time there, and with so many other folks who are going to Harvard. So I felt like I already have this base coming into Harvard that I maybe wouldn't have before. But then also just meeting some of these people who were all incredible, all at the top of, the academic world in their states and in their cities. It was super, super cool, and definitely very, very rewarding.
Definitely. All of y'all are super passion driven for what y'all do. And there are a lot of people that have committed to Harvard from the Coca-Cola Scholars. So you do have a good team, like network, especially going into it. But like I said earlier, y'all are all passion driven, very much so, with what y'all do, and it's truly admirable, man. It really is.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Definitely. But at the end of all of this, why do you believe you were named a Coke Scholar or an HSF Scholar or elected to the USSYP program?
I just think that these programs look for students who are passionate and who have initiative. And, I definitely feel like I've been able to really turn in my passion into tangible impact. And I think that's helped me a lot when applying to a lot of these initiatives, especially my work on the school board, my work with Virtutum Populo, of being able to care about something and then saying, you know what, I'm going to do something about it. And that's exactly what I did with VP. And I guess a lot of these programs, they tell us they are looking for people who are making a difference in their community, who are taking that extra step, who are not only academically superb, but who are actually, doing something meaningful in their communities. And that's what I tell students all the time. Like, just when it comes to civic engagement, people think that civic engagement has to do with government or with politics or with government. But anyone who uses their passion and turns that passion into action to make their community better is civically engaged. Whether that passion is math, science, engineering, art, whatever it is. I know students who tutor math, who, develop an art project with their community. They're also being civically engaged. And I always like to tell students that there's different ways to be involved with your civic community. But yeah, I think it's my actions that matter most. Everyone can tell their story, but, not everyone has something to back that story. And I think that's based on what I've seen with the people who were selected to the U.S. Senate Youth Program and to be a Coca-Cola Scholar or to be an HSF Scholar, that's something they all have in common, which is they've done something important, academically or community-wise.
Definitely. That's another thing a lot of people have told me. Passion is what drives anybody to be their best self. If you're not passionate about what you do, then
Exactly.
It's not really fun at the very end. So definitely. But to round out this episode, the Voice for You podcast is the main tagline is to empower the leaders of today and tomorrow. So what is some advice that you can give to either me, or the audience members, or anybody that is a student trying to have their voice heard in their own community and be a leader?
Well, I'll say this, and this is what I tell to all the students that reach out. And I think you already have done that in a great way, which is my number one piece of advice is always, you need to get started. A lot of people say they want to start an organization or they want to start a project, and they spend 6 months thinking and planning everything and making logos and filling out paperwork and doing all of this. And then you're 6 months in and, you ask them, what have you done? And there's nothing. A lot of people get too stuck up in the details of, let's say they want to start a food bank or a food pantry. And they spend 7 months thinking it all out of, we're going to contact these. But then it's like, you haven't done anything yet. So I always tell students, get started. Everything else is going to come as the process goes along. Just start doing something. Start already, building that pantry. Start building that website. Start filming those podcast episodes. Start, whatever you want to do. Start doing it. Start your blog. Start that Instagram page. Start producing content, and eventually it's going to pick up. And that's what happened with VP. Like, We started, at first we would do monthly Zoom meetings for middle schoolers. We would bring in guest speakers. Like, we hosted the youngest mayor in the United States, a 19-year-old from Earl, Arkansas. He was one of my first guest speakers on Zoom. And eventually I was like, you know what? I don't just want to do Zoom meetings. I want to do something bigger. And that's how our Constitution Day event started. And I just started inviting schools to come. I got a location and we just started doing it. And eventually people liked it and more people wanted to start coming and more programs were starting to develop and more contacts were built. So my number one advice is just knock on that door. And if that door doesn't answer, knock on another one and just keep on going and just get started. Don't get too caught up in planning it. Just do it, like Nike. Just do it. And eventually, you know, it'll all work out and things will work themselves out. But you got to get started. If you don't, then, you know, sometimes people spend so much time planning that nothing ever gets done.
Definitely. No, definitely. I've seen firsthand, you know, that situation happen. You know, someone say like, I want to start this nonprofit. And then they do all this planning. They throw like one event and then nothing happens afterwards. Like,
Exactly.
Like, it's all this build up and then there's never really a goal reached. It's always like that small. And that's the thing, you know. Take my podcast, for example, you know. I didn't start off, you know, making a logo. I didn't start off with making the website. I didn't start off with any of that. I just started off, you know, asking one of my friends, hey, I want to start this podcast. Do you want to join as a guest and, you know, talk about your nonprofit, which you're trying to start as well? He said, sure. You know, him and another guy, they hopped on, and that is now my first episode with my, you know, they took a shot on me. And, you know, obviously it builds up to, you know, networking, like you said, it can be hard, but, you know, that one yes can change everything, you know.
Sure.
Like, take this Coca-Cola series, for example. You know, if I didn't DM all of y'all to the max capacity I can, we wouldn't be sitting here right now, you know, having this conversation. I would have never heard your story about Joe Biden. Like definitely, you know, networking and passion can take you a long way.
For sure.
Anything, for sure.
For sure. And no, you're doing some great work. And I know what it's like to have a podcast, and you're actually motivating me. We've had some problems with my podcast. I started the Civic Action podcast a while ago. We would film out of a studio at the office of a local mayor, but that mayor got termed out. He's no longer mayor. We lost our studio, and now it's been 6 months without an episode because we just haven't found another studio. And I told my team last week, you guys, we need to keep the podcast. We had done like 12 episodes already, and we would do one a month. So we had done it for over a year, and now it's been like 6-7 months without an episode. And you're definitely inspiring me to go, I don't care what we do, but we're gonna restart it next month. Let's find a spot. If not, we'll film virtually. We'll figure it out. But that's why, you know, I definitely congratulate you on your work, And if you're ever in Miami, you know who to call.
Definitely. I'll definitely be reaching out to you. If you ever need any help with your, you know, bringing back your podcast to life, just let me know. I'd love to. You know, broadcast journalism has always been something, you know, always sitting down and just listening to news stories. You know, we're all from different places. We all have different perspectives on like different backgrounds. And, you know, it's always super interesting to hear about that. So if you ever need help with the podcast, you know, even though I am through a screen, I can definitely help you 100%, bro. Like, just let me know.
Thank you, bro.
I'll be there. And definitely,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
If I come over to the Miami area, Harvard area, I know who to call.
For sure. Exactly. You got it.
100%. But once again, Maurits, thank you so much for joining this episode of the Voice for You podcast. It personally means a lot to me that you came here and shared your stories, your words of wisdom to not just me, but, you know, our audience members, and, you know, something that they can take on and cherish while they also try being leaders in their own communities.
For sure, man. It's been a pleasure and much luck on the journey. But you know what? It's not a goodbye. It's an I'll see you later. It's I'll see you on the journey, because I know in our journey of life, I have a feeling our paths will cross again. And I look forward to working with you sometime in the next few months or next few years, because I know we will.
100%. If you ever need any, like I said, with your national projects that you're doing, if you ever need a media partner, I know we're still on the smaller side, but, you know, if you ever need a media partner, you can always reach out to me. I'll be there 100%. I love, you know, the fact that our students are actually getting a voice in their own community. That's always been something that I've been passionate about. And, you know, this podcast is something to show that for sure. And, you know, like you said, it's not bye. It's I'll see you later. You know, everything happens for a reason. I believe in fate, and, you know, everything happens for a reason or another. sure. 100%. So thank you once again so much, man.
Absolutely, man.
Definitely. And to the viewers at home, thank you so much for watching till the very end of this episode. Remember to follow the Voice View podcast on wherever you get your podcast from, as well as YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Once again, I'm your host, Jeshwant Vana. Thank you so much, Maurits, for joining this episode, and we'll see y'all later. Have a good day.